Hey guys, Fanglongmon here for another deck profile, and as you can see from the title, we are finally actually looking at Devas. The main reason why I haven't looked at this deck since basically EX05 is because mainly the price point for Fanglong and buying 4 copies of him, and I was focusing, as you could see from all the other deck profiles, on different decks, specifically on like building like Leomon, making armors, making Yellow Vaccine, revisiting like Royal Knights and all that stuff. So, at least I finally got to it. This deck actually surprisingly can last pretty long because looking forward into BT16, EXO6, and BT17, it's still around and it's still kind of kicking, which is really cool because a lot of the decks from like older formats actually have been coming back, which is crazy because this deck has a lot of power. Originally, I kind of thought it was just like a Mega Zoo deck, but now after finally testing the deck out and just seeing how it's been doing in regionals and in my actual locals here, having one person or two people playing Devas, it's just this deck is actually really crazy. It actually kind of reminds me of like it kind of feels like playing security control, but like without the actual need for security cards sometimes. Because both decks kind of just do that thing where they just don't care if their guys die, even if they're like aces. They genuinely don't care because every time when they die, they do something and kind of hurt the opponent in the process. So it's kind of like daring your opponent to basically attack you, which I really like. Compared to like security, like that's the main downside of security control is that it's also kind of slow. This deck is actually really fast. I originally thought because you had to hard play the level fives that it would be really like bad. It'd be like really slow sometimes, but surprisingly, it's actually not that bad because of all the aces you run. You can just stop them from doing stuff or checking your security, which is really strong. Also, the fact is that this deck does have access to Alliance thanks to one of the Devas. Because with that, you can essentially use the egg that I'm about to show you to boost it so high that literally no Digimon can match its power when it's swinging, which is really cool. But yeah, let's actually get into deck profile so you can see what I'm talking about. So for the eggs, this being a deck that mainly just kind of is placing level fives into the breeding zone, kind of like with Dart Masters. Um, we run 4 Mother Reapers. Mainly, it's because this, as I mentioned before, is for Alliance. You basically boost one of your level fives up by 15,000, so you basically can get past almost any Digimon. The only downside is that it doesn't give you protection from options, but the fact that Alliance gives you an extra security check and that big of a boost is insane. And that's basically what Mother Reaper is, aside from the fact that it's a white colored Digimon, so it grants you basically access to play any of the options, specifically the one option that we run in this deck for Devas, basically, to search. So yeah, so we run the 4 eggs. So for level fives, we run basically almost all of them except for the tiger, I believe. Like his name is kind of weird to pronounce sometimes, so I'm just gonna say he's the tiger, in the Chinese zodiac basically, because that's what basically all the lower devas are basically based on. So first we run 2 copies of Indramon. Indramon's really cool. On play, he draws a card, and then of course basically every Deva. I'm going to skip past this effect for all of them because if not, we're going to be here all day. Basically, all the Devas have an effect where on play they draw one, then they place a level 5 that doesn't have the same name as a Deva on the field or in trash in your breeding zone. And that's basically what all of them have as an effect, as a secondary effect. And then or main effect, and then they all have they all have completely different secondary effects. In the case of Indramon, he gives you on deletion draw one, which is really strong. His inherent is also different from all the others. This one says that basically while this Digimon has the 4 Sovereigns or God Beast trait, it gains security attack +1. So if you combo that, like if you actually have to go into Fanglong with uh, evolution, you can potentially give it an extra check plus the trash that you're going to be doing when swinging. So you're basically going to be guaranteed like 3 checks with him, which is really cool. Then we run one Sendiramon. Sendiramon's kind of cool. Like I like his effect of on deletion. You get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 5,000 DP or less, which is actually kind of clutch because you could potentially kill their little like rookie that's stopping you from getting memory or doing anything basically. He also surprisingly he also has the same inherit as Indramon, so they both kind of help boost for a final swing basically. And then the last red Deva we run is Pajiramon. Um, this one's effect obviously is different. It's if your opponent has a tamer, on deletion you just gain a memory. So if they kill this, you're like, cool, I gain a memory. And of course, this being red or red in general basically just gives the extra security check. Then for the green Devas, we run one Vajiramon. This one's really cool. Your turn, when you use an option card, you get to gain one or more memory. Or actually, my bad. When you play an option that costs one or more, you get to gain one memory. And his inherent basically says it's the same thing where it's if they are a 4 sovereigns or a god beast, they basically gain piercing. Then we run one. I still honestly don't know how to pronounce him. It's Fanglongmon. That's like the best way I can pronounce him, honestly. But yeah, his effect is also really cool. Is that whenever one of your Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, you unsuspend this guy. So if you swing this into a small guy, then you unsuspend him and you get to swing again into security. So really cool. And of course, he does give piercing. Then we have Kumbiramon. This one's really cool. I really like the art on this because he's literally just like riding on top of like one of their weapon or like one of their staffs or weapons. So I really just love this art. His effect is also it's all turns. Once per turn, when an opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, draw one. I also forgot to mention that these two are actually your turn effects, so they only happen on your turn. This one is just all turns, so it's really solid. Um, and yeah, that's basically all for the green Devas. We only run one blue Deva, and that's Majiramon. This one, it's like on your turn, when you use an option card of a cost of 1 or more, you also gain a memory. So it's kind of like the Pajiramon, but blue, basically. And when attacking, if this guy has 4 sovereigns or God Beast trait, you get to gain 1 memory. So you get to swing and gain memory, which is really solid. Then for the black Devas, we run, of course, 3 Katuramon. He doesn't really do anything aside from the on play, play himself, draw a card and place a guy in. He's just a blocker. And then he grants blocker to any 4 sovereign that he evolves into. So that's basically what he does. Then we have Makuramon, which honestly is my favorite one because his art is really cool, done by Koki, of course. And then his effect is really cool. On the opponent's turn, all of your opponent's tamers with play costs of 2 or less can't suspend. So there's very few tamers that basically are 2 cost or less, but the ones that are like kind of weird ones, like Analog Boy and like I forgot the other white tamer that basically makes it so you can't rookie rush because if you attack with a level 3, you lose memory. This one can stop them at least, but that's about it. He also grants blocker just like Katuramon, so you gotta run at least 2 of them just in case. Then the last black Deva we run is Sinduramon. Cool thing, he has decoy for any Deva or anything with 4 sovereigns in his trait, so that's kind of cool. Then that's basically it aside from blocker. But I like that they also have their way for decoy as well, which is pretty cool. Then the last Deva we run is the dual color Antilamon. This guy's really cool. This guy's from an older set. He's from like EX4. But the thing is that since he's a Deva, you can play him into your breeding with like any of these guys. And the cool thing is that you leave out a Deva, right? And then they try to swing into it or swing into your security to do early checks, and you remove their guy, evolve into a Deva or a 4 sovereign. Then next turn you push this guy out, and you go, okay, swing Alliance because he has Alliance by default. So he just gets to check for 2 checks at like an insane DP. And then at the end of attack, if you have 3 or fewer, you get to recovery +1. So he's pretty solid. And he also has an inherent where it's end of attack. If you have another suspended Digimon in play, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 2,000. So potentially that can actually kill smaller rookies, which is really crucial sometimes. So pretty solid. Like this guy, you have to run at 3. Almost every single build that I've seen in general runs 3 because this guy is just too good not to run because he gets you good security checks early game, and if you can set it up, you don't even really need Fanglong. Sometimes you can just check with him and win for game basically because they can't fully get rid of your board sometimes. But yeah, these are all the Devas we run in deck. Now let's get on to the 4 sovereigns. So for 4 sovereigns, the first one we run is 4 Azulong. Main reason why we run 4 is because he's just really good. He bounces level 5s. He also unsuspends himself. Also on deletion, he deletes the opponent's Digimon with the highest level. So you can basically get rid of something even if this dies. So really strong. You gotta run 4 of this. This guy's like the best 4 sovereign. He's way too good. Then we run 3 of Eben Wulmon. This guy's also really good. Oh yeah. I also forgot to mention that almost every 4 Sovereign has an alternate evolution cost where you can Digivolve on the level 5 Deva, so it doesn't matter about color with these guys. These guys can evolve on any of them as long as they have the Deva in the trait. So, really cool. Then we have was it? Then for his when Digivolving, it's really solid. For each of your Digimon with Deva or 4 Sovereigns, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Then during your opponent's next unsuspend phase, they can't unsuspend. Also on deletion, you get to delete one of their unsuspended Digimon. So, hey, if he dies, he's taking somebody with him no matter what. So I really like that. Then we run two. I still have trouble pronouncing his name. We're just gonna call him the Phoenix guy. Juquamon or whatever. I'm really bad with these kind of names. But yeah, no, this guy's really powerful. Like the fact that you could just blast evolve and then you pop something 6,000 DP or less. So if your opponent is swinging a really small guy, you just kill it. And then on deletion, if they do kill this guy, it just kills them because they have the highest DP. So pretty strong. Then the last Deva, or 4 Sovereign, sorry, I keep going back and forth because I basically just call this deck the Deva deck. We run one Bahumon. This is actually one of the only 2 AAs I pulled from EXO4. So I'm pretty happy that I finally get to use this guy because I love this art, especially because, you know, the White Tiger is like my favorite in that kind of theme of Chinese mythology. So pretty cool. So on the opponent's turn, once per turn, when your security is checked, if they hit into a Deva, you just get to play it for free. And then it triggers its on-play effects. It doesn't stop its on-play effects or anything. You just get that on-play effect, which is draw 1. So pretty cool. And then when he dies, he deletes one of your opponent's Digimon with the highest play cost. So they're like, oh, I killed you with, like, for example, like if you're playing against Shine, oh, they killed this. Okay, I kill your Shine. So now you don't get to recover the Marcus even if he swings in. Cool. So it kind of like hurt, like all of these 4 Sovereigns hurt the opponent if they try to get rid of them, which I really like. But we still run one more level 6 ace, and that is Mega Gargo Ace. Mega Gargo Ace has been making a lot of waves because this guy basically stops opponents from digivolving. It's also a blocker, so potentially you can just like blast evolve, stun their guys that they can't evolve, and then block it and it just dies anyway. But you can also use it to block smaller guys at the same time. So it's just really strong of a card not to run in a deck that's already running a bunch of aces. And for its color, green and black, there's a lot of green and blacks in Devas, so you can basically just evolve this no matter what half the time, and you can use this to get extra swings alongside like Antilomon, so it's really powerful. So you got to run at least one copy. I've seen people run like 1 or 2, maybe like I saw one running like 3. Oh man, like that's a bit too much. So I feel like just for now, since this is like kind of like my prototype build, I'm gonna run 1 and see how it feels. And so far it feels really good. So I might bump this up to 2, but I'm gonna have to figure out what to take out. Maybe take out one of Zulong, maybe if I really want to include one more. But aside from that, really solid card. And yeah, that's basically all the level 6 ace 4 sovereigns that we run. For level 7s, we only run 1, of course, this being a Deva Fanglong deck. We run 4 Fanglongs because Fanglong is really powerful. If you notice, these are actually not the card of Fanglong. These are my proxies. I have, as of recording, I have ordered 4 copies and they should be on the way. But for now, and you know, for testing and stuff, I've been using these proxies and they work pretty well. So for now, we're using these. Fanglong is just really broken of a card. The fact that he has his own option card that lets you play him for a reduced cost, well, not for a reduced, like just for free, basically, because the option basically reduces itself for every Deva and 4 Sovereign. It reduces it by 1 memory. So you basically can play, sometimes when you get enough of them into the trash, you can play the option for like 2 cost, bring this out, and then you go, okay, on play, if by returning 4 cards with Deva or 4 Sovereign trait from your trash to the bottom of the deck, for each one, their whole board gets minus 4,000. Basically, all of your opponents' Digimon get minus 4,000. So if you put 4, you're minusing 16,000 off that board. Their board is gone. If they do not have protection against DP reduction, they are gone. It is insane how broken it is. And that's not even the half of it. He also has 2 more effects. He has, when attacking for each of your Digimon with 4 Sovereigns trait, like on the field, he gets to trash a card. So if you have just 1, you're basically going for 2 checks with him no matter what. And then but the only way to do that is to basically, the other effect, He also has a when attacking, which is the same as his on play. So basically, on play you get to DP minus, then when attacking you get to DP minus for another 16. So you basically board wipe them both times. And then he's basically he has an alternative effect that basically makes it so he's unaffected by your opponent's Digimon. So the only way to get rid of this is for them to play a high cost option or something like an option to get rid of this, because if their deck depends on their Digimon to remove this guy, that's not happening. This guy will just go, okay, cool story, man. I'm just gonna swing and kill you anyway and still trash the security regardless. So yeah, this guy's busted. Like, he is the main boss, and basically your goal is to get this guy out, maybe at like just one copy to just basically swing for game. But yeah, that's basically all the Digimon in the deck. The rest are options and tamers, and some of the tamers are pretty crucial because they do help you set up pretty fast. So for options, we are running the Loyalty Deeper Than the Sea. This is a one-cost option where it basically, if you have a Deva or a 4 Sovereign in its trait, you may ignore this card's color requirement. And then you basically get to reveal the top 3 cards, and you add, you get to either place one card with Deva or 4 Sovereigns among them as the bottom source of one of your guys, or you can add one of, basically, or you can add one to your hand, basically. So either you tuck one or you basically equip. So it's basically, it works kind of both ways. You can like hard play a Deva or hard play a 4 Sovereign, and then you can just use this to equip one of these underneath to like give it blocker or piercing or something like that. And then after that, you can return it to the top or the bottom of your deck. So you basically can set it up so that you get exactly the card that you want to get, because most of the time you will be ending your turn by hard playing a Deva and drawing one. So you basically set up so you know exactly what you're going to be drawing. And its security effect is basically activating that effect. So you got to run 4 because this is one of your main searching cards along with the Deva's drawing, so you need 4. Then we also run 4 of the 12 cost option, the Holy Beast Great Cardinal Positions. This is kind of a mouthful to say, but while you have a Digimon with Deva or 4 Sovereigns, you can ignore this color, but usually you'll have Mother or something, or a Tamer that is white, basically, that will help you trigger this. Basically, while this card would be used, you get to reduce the cost by 1 for each Deva or for Sovereign trait card with a different name in your trash. So you have to have them at different names. But as long as you have that, you basically can reduce the cost. And then it basically just says you get to play a Fanglong from your hand without paying the cost. So you just get to do that and bust their board. Then its security is basically grabbing back a Fanglong if it somehow dies from an option or something like that. So pretty solid. You have to run 4 because this is basically the card that helps you basically play out this guy. So yeah, you have to at least run 4 so you can see it often enough. Then for removal, we run 1 Heaven's Judgment. Heaven's Judgment is just way too broken to not at least play 1 copy, because almost basically all of your level 6s and like one of your level 5s are like dual colored, so you can basically get minus 18 on something no matter what. So pretty solid. And of course the minus 12,000 in security is pretty good. Then we also run 1 Crimson Blaze because there are a lot of swarm decks that we have to deal with. So this does help us kind of stun them for the turn to help kind of reset up our board if they, manage to get rid of something. So, and it stops them from playing stuff too. So pretty powerful. Yeah, and that's basically all the options we run. The rest are tamers, and specifically we run 4 Analog Boys because we basically use this to, we use them to basically, mill out like our deck essentially. But the cool thing is that because of his effect of placing 4 Devas back on the bottom of the deck when attacking, and on play, basically, you get to basically recycle your deck continuously. So you don't really run out with, like with purple decks, you kind of mill yourself out if you play too many Analog Boys. But with this deck, you can basically continuously just recycle your deck over and over thanks to Fanglong. So you kind of don't really have a risk of deck out, which is really good. And of course, it does give us an extra memory if a level 5 or higher dies. So if they kill one of these sovereigns, you basically get to tap this and gain 2. If you have 2 already on the board, most of these will just be like, okay, cool, minus 2 overflow, whatever, that's fine. It doesn't hurt as bad, honestly, which I really like. So if you have like 4 of these, man, there's like no overflow, which is insane. If you manage to get 4 on the board, you should be winning at that point. Then we run 1 Digimon Emperor because a lot of decks are using Uko, and we need this to basically counter that. And then, of course, we get an extra draw thanks to his other effect. Then we run one Jedi. I'm running one Jedi because I've seen my friend play. Shout out to my friend Max who plays at my locals. Jedi, he whiffs a lot, and I've seen him whiff on almost every Deva deck that I've ever seen in a video like playing this. So I'm running one copy mainly for his opponent's turn effect, which is when an opponent's level 5 or higher Digimon attacks, by suspending this guy, you can move the guy up from raising. So if you like set up like turn 1 with basically 2 Devas, you can just play this turn 2 and be like, okay, cool. And then you play another Deva to set up another one, and then when they try to attack, you just go, okay, sorry, push this up, and then I'll Blast Evolve. So you run one copy just for that. But aside from that, his main effect kind of hurts you a bit. And then the last card in the deck, of course, is Hero, because we do need a memory setter. And this being a red memory setter also does kind of help, because it does help us play out Crimson Blaze. And of course, we do run reds in this deck, but I like having at least the tamer to set our memory. Also, the fact is that when you swing, you can boost one of your Digimon by 2,000, so you can actually boost your guy up to 17 just in case. Same with like any of the sovereigns or any of these guys. So it's actually pretty crucial to kind of run this. I honestly might run a second one because I really like having a memory setter, and Jedi kind of doesn't really do much aside from that effect. But even then, I'm like, okay, I kind of don't really need that half the time. So I feel like actually taking them out and putting in another hero might actually be better. Aside from that, that's basically the deck. Deva's, Fanglong is just a really crazy deck. It looks really weird because it looks like a Megazoo deck, but at the same time, you're talking to somebody who's played Machine Dramon, and I've had to hard play level 5s like so often, it's kind of ridiculous. So it's not really that strange for me to be playing a level 5. So I'm like, okay, whatever. This deck actually feels pretty good. So going forward, I actually might start playing this more, honestly. But yeah, no, this deck has a really good matchup with a lot of the current meta decks. Surprisingly, I had a really tough time against this deck with Numamon as well. I actually played against my friend Max, and we went really hard. Like I had to go really controlled to even get rid of half his board. So really strong. Like this deck has a lot of potential, and it can still keep going even up to BT17, surprisingly. So I really just hope my investment works out. But aside from that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.